Kia ora! Helen Brahms here from Cruise Planners, and welcome to another Facebook Live for today's question. Our frequently asked travel questions are coming in thick and fast, so we've got a ton of material to bring you, and we're looking forward to answering your question. Remember, if you would like us to answer your question, please send us a private message with what your travel question is, and we'll be more than happy to answer it for you in a Facebook Live. Okay, so while we're waiting for a few people to get on, why not get out there, type in there where you're dialed in from so we can see, and then we can talk about tonight's question. It is a really cool question, and one that I've actually had a few clients ask me about, so I am absolutely thrilled to be able to bring you the answer. So our question today comes from Sandy in Las Vegas, and Sandy from Las Vegas would like to know, can you take service dogs on board the cruise ship with you? Because as you know, pets are not allowed on board the cruise ship, with the exception of one cruise ship, and that is the Cunard's Queen Mary 2 actually has kennels available on the ship to house your dogs, but the dog has to stay in the kennel area, and they've got a little play area as well. So your pets can actually stay there on the Queen Mary 2, and that's the one that does the transatlantic crossings. So, but they're very limited on the numbers, but that's your actual pet. So tonight we're talking about service dogs. Can you take service dogs on board a cruise ship? So we're going to give you some general guidelines. Each cruise line is different, but we're going to give you the general guidelines, and our best advice is always to talk with a special needs department. Get your travel professional to talk with a special needs department for the cruise line to find out their exact requirements. So what we're going to give you tonight about taking service/working dogs on board a cruise ship is just general guidelines. So the answer to the question is typically service dogs are allowed on cruise ships with their owners. They have to be the dogs that are legally defined as and have been trained to meet a disability-related need. So there are requirements on what they determine a service dog to be. So you have to meet those requirements. Also, most cruise lines, and I can't say all because I haven't researched all the cruise lines out there, but most cruise lines do not allow guests to sail with their therapy or companion dogs or service dogs that are in training. They have to be service dogs that have been trained. They have to be current on all their vaccinations. And now this is an interesting one too, because I know we get our dog, and he is not a therapy dog. If you watched our previous Facebook, you met our Executive VP of Office Morale, which is Gus, our 12-and-a-half-year-old, what is he, shepherd/mountain dog mix, and something else. We don't know what else, but he's a mutt, but he's beautiful, he's lovable. We get him a 3-year rabies shots. There are some countries that don't recognize the 3-year rabies shots. So if you're getting current on all vaccinations, you have to make sure that the country you're going to, if you do get the 3-year one, accepts it. If not, you've got to get the yearly one. And so they have to, and in fact, many countries don't recognize the 3-year shot. You've got to get the yearly vaccination shot. The dog is completely the passenger's responsibility. You have to contact the Department of Agriculture as well as your service dog's vet to obtain information that is required in each port as to what they're going to require. You will need to carry your original vaccination records and permits to show that they are a service dog, and a copy of them must be left with guest services when you arrive on board the ship. And notification to the ship needs to be at minimum 30 days prior to sailing that there's going to be a service dog on board. When they have the service dogs coming on board, they will provide a place for the dog to do his business. Usually most cruise lines have about a 4x4 box filled with mulch, paper pellets. Some do turf, some do grass. It depends ship by ship, but always ask them what they're going to be filling it with. And then as soon as you get on the ship, go to guest services and ask them where the box is for the dog, because there may be more than one service dog on board, so they will put it kind of in an out-of-the-way place for most passengers, so your dog does have some privacy. But always get them to walk you to where the box is so that you know where it is, and that way if it's not there, they can get on the radio straight away and find out exactly where it is, or if it's been moved location. If you are the only person on board with the service dog and it's at the far end of the ship, you know, you can always ask them if they can move it closer to where you are. I've heard of places that they've put them in the crew-only area close to the cabins where they've got the laundry chutes and that sort of thing that's been put there. I've heard them being put into stairwells. The problem with the stairwells is that you've got a lip to get over as well as a heavy door to move. So if you are wheelchair bound with a service dog, that could provide a challenge. So you need to get them to walk you to where the box is so that you can see that it is going to meet something that you can easily access for your dog. But that's basically it. So most cruise lines are yes on the service dogs. Like I said, you have to check with the individual cruise lines through their special needs department. Also check with the Department of Agriculture as well as your service dog's vet to find out what vaccinations need to be shown when going to what ports you're going to, based on the ports you're going to. If you do turn up at a port and you don't have the correct documentation with you, they may deny you being able to disembark from the ship, and they may also quarantine your dog. So to avoid that, make sure you have the required records with you. Find out ahead of time. The other thing is that the crew is not there to look after your dog. You are the person who's completely responsible for your dog. And out of all of the cruise lines that I have checked so far and the ones that I have used for clients, they all state the dog is not to be left in the stateroom by themselves. The dog is to be with the guest or another handler who's traveling with the guest at all times. And you can even do things like, if people make a comment, like if you're in the dining room or something, the dog's under the table. Just let people around you know that there's going to be a dog coming up from under the table so they don't jump 10 feet in the air because, oh my gosh, there's a dog there, especially if somebody's afraid of dogs too. And make sure that the dog is always wearing their vest at all times when you've got them outside the cabin as well. So it's just general, just general things. If you travel with your dog a lot, you're going to know a lot of this already, of stuff that you're required, especially when you're flying. So you just got to extend it to the cruise ship. And it's just a matter of letting them know at least 30 days in advance that you're going to be bringing a service dog on board. You can bring the food on board with you. You do need to provide the food because the ship's not going to provide it for you. So bring the food on board the ship with you, as much as going to be, what do they term it as? A reasonable amount of dog food. So my suggestion is, get the little Ziploc bags, put, each meal into the Ziploc bags, take a couple of extras just in case, and that should be fine. Maybe have the dog have his own little wheelie bag that he can have his stuff in or something. I don't know. But anyway, so thank you, Sandy, for your question. I hope that answers your question for today. Again, like I said, these are just general guidelines, and each cruise line is different, so you do need to contact the special needs department or have your travel professional help you with that, and they'll be more than happy to call the special needs department, find out what the requirements are to pass along to you, and that way you can make sure you get all the correct documentation as well. So Sandy from Las Vegas, thank you so much for your question. I hope that answered your question very well for you. For everybody else, if you have a travel question that you would like us to answer for you, then please feel free to send us a private message, and we'll be more than happy to answer your question live. So have a great evening. He konera.